Well, we have some new Nintendo Switch 2 updates to discuss today, and these can only be classified as strange in my opinion, because there are two separate stories going around regarding Switch 2, and one of them actually has to do with yet another studio that is no doubt working on a Switch 2 game, just kind of wanting to tease that it's coming to Nintendo's next-gen platform. And the longer we see Nintendo hold out on announcing or revealing this thing, I think the more companies are going to kind of have this similar approach where they're just kind of directly teasing that they're making a game for the next-gen console. But what is interesting about this story is the release time of the game, which has been revealed, and it's essentially believed to be a Q1 title in 2025. So while Yooka Replay, which was the last game that was announced for Switch 2, but just in a cryptic way with a Nintendo logo and some eyeballs dancing on top of it, we didn't have any kind of release timeline for that game. This game we do, so we have to break that down. Then there's another rumor going around, and we're going to treat this as a story you need to take with a massive grain of salt, but apparently the source that is suggesting this new information does have a track record, although I cannot directly verify it, as they are a Chinese Weibo user who you may know is like the Chinese version of Twitter essentially. And this source is suggesting an exact reveal timeline and launch timeline for the next-gen hardware, and this one, if accurate, would be very unprecedented from Nintendo. So we're going to get on the same page with both of these different Switch 2 stories today. Before we do, make sure you like, subscribe, and turn on your bell notification to join Sunbro Nation if you're new here. And I want to first go back in time a little bit to add some context to indie developers potentially having Switch 2 dev kits in hand and are likely developing games for the system right now. You might remember this post back from September 16th of 2024, where we had Josh from Limited Run Games visiting Nintendo of America, and he posted, "We had an awesome visit to Nintendo of America today. I am grateful that we have such great partners at NOA." Now, this was one of many different companies that were flown out to Nintendo of America. The reason for the meeting in person and being flown out has yet to be revealed, but obviously you could speculate that Nintendo was probably briefing their partners on Nintendo Switch 2 and or providing them with dev kits. But I think it is a safe assumption to say that companies big and small, Nintendo partners, now have in their possession Switch 2 dev kits, and this has been known for a long time. We could even go all the way back to that game developer report that a survey asked game developer conference attendees which systems they were developing games for, and Switch 2 was on there with hundreds and hundreds of responses. So development has no doubt been going on Switch 2 dev kits for a long time. But you can then see this post from Steven, who is a fairly large content creator, that says, "Just got an email about an upcoming game that includes this line, rolling out Q1 2025 on PC, Steam, Xbox One, and Series X and S, PlayStation 5, and Nintendo Switch is." And that's of course ES, meaning like it will run on the current Nintendo Switch and the Switch 2. And then he has this to say: "That Switch 2 is right around the corner, man. Very curious when Nintendo will tell us about it." Now, it was later revealed that the exact game in question is Ruffy and the Riverside, and it rolls out in Q1, which would mean March. Now, the big asterisk with this entire story is that while it would be safe to assume that, I mean, this game's gonna come out in the first quarter of next year, and that may lead some credence to the idea that the Switch 2 version, which is teased with the word Switches, could launch day and date, but it also may not. So this is not confirmation, in my opinion, that Nintendo would be releasing their hardware as soon as Q1 of next year, especially whenever you consider that we haven't learned about the console officially other than some features, which we will get into in a second, because the next rumor we're going over actually does tease a March time launch, which just seems almost impossible at this point. But nonetheless, companies are getting to the point where they're going to start marketing and revealing their games, and if Nintendo's new console is not officially revealed with the logo and a name, they're just going to say things like this, where it's coming to Nintendo or it's coming to Switches. They're going to kind of tease that they will have a version ready playable on Nintendo's next-gen hardware that we just don't have the official marketing for yet. But again, because this is coming to Switch 1 and supposedly Switch 2, it is not, in my opinion, confirmation that the Switch 2 version would have to be there day and date with the other versions. And we do know Switch 2 will be backwards compatible, so they could be teasing that maybe this is only getting a Switch 1 version, but it's playable on both Switches because of backwards compatibility. So take that part for what you will. But then things get a little bit more interesting from here, because we then have this following article over on Universo Nintendo, which says this: "Rumor, Chinese insider suggests Nintendo should announce the Switch 2 in January 2025. Rumors regarding the successor to Nintendo Switch continue to be shared across the internet on various forums. The most recent involves the publication made by a Chinese insider named a name in Chinese that I will not be able to pronounce on the Weibo forum, where he republishes a post made on the Fami Boards forum about increasing increased production of the Switch 2 compared to what was made available for the current console at its launch in 2017, in addition to the launch being in March 2025, with an announcement happening sometime during the month of January 2025. The exact translated post reads as follows: officially announced in January, the first month of shipments in various regions have been determined, about 650, NS is 274, and the production scale of some parts has reached hundreds of thousands since September, and there is news that T239 has begun to be shipped in large quantities recently. Now you might ask, okay, so a random Chinese user posted this. Well, apparently due to some research from Nintendo Universo, they have this to say about this individual. The insider has a good reputation on the forum and has several teasers of announcements, mainly for the Nintendo Direct in June of this year, in which he commented on several of the announcements that later took place at the presentation. 8 for trailers for The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom were also shared by him in the form of tips and messages. Nintendo intends to make details of the Nintendo Switch successor official by the end of March 2025, according to its president. So now this is where we really have to stop for a moment and break down the possibility of this, because while I would love to believe that a March launch for Nintendo Switch 2 is still on the table somehow, that would be essentially a 2-month reveal to release. Now, they could reveal this thing early January, launch late March, so you would get closer to that 2.5-3 months, and it would be very unprecedented for Nintendo to do that. Now, they have done it technically within the Switch generation with revisions of their current consoles, but that is a revision, such as a Switch Lite, which just doesn't have docked capabilities, and a OLED model, which is just a bigger screen, but it's the same graphics processing unit. You're not going to a new generation of consoles, but you could also argue that because Nintendo has really been keeping Switch 2 fresh in our minds since May 7th of 2024, that they're already kind of keeping the fan base warm with teasing the console, such as saying that they're going to be announcing it within this current fiscal year, which ends March of 2025, and every presentation saying that there will be no mention of the Switch successor at this event, and then most recently the confirmation that backwards compatibility and Nintendo Switch Online will be rolling forward. Would there possibly be a world where Nintendo is comfortable just giving us that detailed first look presentation and telling us that this thing's going to be out 2.5 to 3 months later from when they reveal it? That would be something brand new for them in terms of that quick of a turnaround for a brand new console generation. The closest I believe we've come is about 4.5 months from reveal to release with the Switch and even the 3DS when it was replacing the DS. There is the possibility that because this is a more successor style console where it has the same essential gimmick of the Switch and probably is keeping Switch in the title, would Nintendo not feel the need to really build it up in the same way with 4, 5, 6 months of marketing? Well, that's where you have to stop and think about the launch lineup for software, because while I do think that maybe Nintendo has this mindset that people already know what the Switch does and this is a more powerful Switch, so they don't need as long of a ramp up from reveal to release, it would be very surprising to see them drop like the new 3D Mario announcement a couple months before it comes out. I mean, that is very not Nintendo style on their bigger, larger AAA games that they know are going to be a staple thing for their next gen console, like a day one reason to go out and buy the hardware. So while I want to believe this poster and say, yes, there's still a shot for a March launch of Switch 2, it just seems highly unlikely at this point. And it would be Nintendo doing something entirely unprecedented for the first time, which is the shortest reveal to release we've ever seen them do for next gen hardware. It would be in line with like something like a Switch Lite reveal, which is not off the table because they have done it this generation, but they've been for current generation reveals, not entirely new console generations. But that's where I really want to pose the question to you guys. Do you think that there is a world where Nintendo could reveal this console in January and turn around and launch it as soon as the month of March? Do we get it early January reveal and a late March launch, and we actually do see the shortest marketing cycle ever for like a AAA brand new Mario game that will probably be launching alongside of it? Or do you think that there's just simply not a shot that the reveal to launch could be that short, and you think maybe we learn about the console in March, but the timing as far as the launch is off, and April, May, or even June would be the very soonest we could expect the system to really be playable in our hands? So let me know what you make about the different stories. Developers teasing games for Nintendo's next gen hardware when Nintendo themselves have not even revealed it to us officially, and the likelihood of Nintendo doing something very unprecedented with a quick turnaround time for reveal to release for their next gen hardware. So make sure you share all your thoughts and feelings in the comments down below before you leave, regardless if we agree or disagree. Also make sure you like, subscribe, turn your notification bell, and with that, I've been Sunbro, you've been Nation. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.